All right, here we go. Let's see where this episode takes us. But we are here to talk Iowa's Open Scrimmage, aka Iowa Kids Day from yesterday. I'm recording this the day after. So I have my thoughts all right here, and we are going to do it short and sweet. Welcome in, though. This is Hawk Talk on Melrose. I am Collin. So let's get right into it. Now, I was not at the Kids Day scrimmage. I just want to point that out. I live too far away. I live about 5 hours away from Iowa City. I do go to all the Iowa home games, but spring games, open scrimmages, I just tend not to go to because more than likely they end up being kind of what we saw yesterday. Not really a whole lot. And it's more of a freak out by everybody than anything else. And it's just one of those things where it's like the journalists for Iowa, they do a really good job of posting videos. And Sean Bach of 24/7 had an entire 18-minute clip. If you're a VIP to 24/7, you can watch it all of pretty much the entire scrimmage. And so that's what I did. And like I said, I have my notes right here, and I'm just going to go through kind of what I saw, okay? Taking away more or less kind of what everybody was saying, because a lot of the beat writers obviously had their articles up. Some of them even already have podcasts out talking about it. And, a lot of people commenting in the boards and things like that. And so, looking at all that, that's great. But I really wanted to watch it myself and kind of gather what I really think it looked like and things like that. So that is what we're going to do today. Frankly, leading up to this episode, I was going to incorporate Iowa Media Days from Friday into this episode as well, but I think there's enough storylines, enough things to talk about from just the Kids Day scrimmage that I don't really feel the need to kind of go back to Friday, because pretty much everything that was said is things that we kind of already know. And yeah, so we're going to mainly talk Iowa Kids Day today. I want to start out with this, and I'm not laying the foundation of excuses. So do not think I'm doing this, because I will 100% fully agree that yesterday's performance was not good and that there's really no defending Cade McNamara's performance. So I'm not trying to lay the foundation of excuses, but I will say this, that Iowa Kids Day open scrimmage rarely ever means anything. You go back to last year, 2023, outside of Cade's injury that day, which really put a damper on that day. You take that away, it was a very positive day for the offense. We connected on some deep balls. We ran the ball good that day. And overall, the offense actually looked decent that day. Well, long story short, as the season went on, now granted injuries played a little part in it, but the offense was truly horrible. And so you look back at that Kids Day scrimmage, it was definitely not a reflection on what was to come. You go back to 2015, probably the worst Kids Day performance I've ever seen, where, CJ Beathard was the starting quarterback. We didn't score one touchdown that day. It was a horrible day for the offense. And we probably all thought like, wow, this is going to be a long year. And long story short, we go 12-0 that year, regular season. So I just want to point that out, that the Kids Day scrimmage rarely means anything. We're only 9 practices into camp. We still got 3 full weeks left. Now, yes, that's a short time, but in reality, though, that's still a long time in the practice world. So there's still a lot of time to improve. I'm not going to sit here and overreact to one scrimmage, because we truthfully don't know what they looked like coming into yesterday, right? Because if you told me right now, which it sounds like, according to insiders, that the offense was looking pretty good against the defense. And, so maybe yesterday was just kind of a one out. Maybe they just didn't look very good. I have no idea. That is truly something I wish we did know. I wish we knew what the offense looked like leading up to yesterday, because if we did know, like, let's say the offense was looking pretty good and then yesterday was just a bad day, then nobody is freaking out about it, right? It's just like, well, yeah, it's just a bad day. We looked off. So I just kind of want to start off with that. And then also this too. I knew going into this scrimmage, and I told Tyler this like a month ago, that people are going to overreact to this new offense because we are going to be very basic. We're going to showcase really practically nothing, because why would we? Why would Tim Lester showcase the bulk of the offense for everybody to see? It just ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It was going to be a very basic day, similar to the spring game. Now, yes, do I wish we would have seen a little bit more middle to long range, passing plays? Yes, because we didn't really see that at all yesterday. It was a lot of just short passing plays, things like that. But I really think that was by design. We did a lot of third and manageable situations that were just like, hey, let's try to get the first down. and things like that. So it was one of those days where it was like, it's more about the practicing part of it rather than, okay, let's see how much we can torch the defense. Let's see how many stats we can put up. Let's see how many yards we can put up. Let's see how many touchdowns we can put up. That was really not the point of yesterday's practice. So, with all that being said, am I worried about the offense after yesterday? The short answer is no. However, and Tyler and I have said this, and I think on one of the episodes, we got a lot of disagreement in the comments, a lot of people that were calling us negative when we said we have to pump the brakes a little bit, right? We do think it's going to be better, but it's going to be a work in progress. It's not going to look pretty on day one. And when we say day one, we really mean like game one. It's just not gonna. Like, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be moments where it looks good. There's going to be moments where it looks bad. We're learning a completely new system. And so I think yesterday was a good reflection of, yeah, we still have a lot of work to do. There's glimpses in this offense, and we'll get into that, of what it can be. And I do think it is different, but it's a work in progress. Like, we're still trying to figure things out. And with that being said, it's going to take some time. It's not going to look polished game one. It's probably not going to look polished game 4. Right? It's going to take a while. We got to figure out what we're good at and really hammer that, and then we can build on everything else. So let's talk quarterback play, because that was the main talking point from yesterday. Rightfully so. You had Chris Hassel tweeting out Cade's stat line, which got a lot of views on Twitter, a lot of comments, a lot of people talking shit rightfully so. It was not a good day for Cade. There's no defending that whatsoever. That stat line is absolutely brutal and absolutely pathetic. Going back and watching it myself, I thought, and what concerned me was what Cade is usually good at, and that is accuracy and ball placement, was not the case yesterday. He was off on pretty much everything, even the makeable throws, even the short range throws, just completely off. He looked so disjointed out there. And I don't know if you can chalk that up to just him being rusty still, learning the new offense. He hasn't played a lot. I have no idea. I do want to point out one positive from Cade yesterday, because there was one positive, and that was his movement. Going into the practice, I was a little concerned by, coming off the torn ACL, wearing a left knee brace. How is he going to be able to move around? And I thought for the most part, he looked pretty solid at that yesterday. He even had one play that he got outside the pocket and ran for 15 yards. He wasn't limping. It looked normal. So I guess that is good. I just want to point that out. All I know is that stat line, 7 for 21 for 20 yards. That is inexcusable for a fifth-year quarterback. I'm sorry, it just is. And I know the quarterback, or I know the offense yesterday, once again, very basic. We weren't really doing a lot. We weren't really showing a whole lot. I understand that. We weren't throwing the ball downfield. That just wasn't the emphasis yesterday. But, man, I don't know. Stat line should be a little bit better than that. And so that's what concerns me. Now, I will say this, though. Unlike last year, where we had Deacon Hill as a backup, we actually have a capable Big Ten quarterback who has started in Big Ten games as a backup right now. And that's what makes me feel good, is because I really do think that this is a true competition. Now, if you would have told me 2 days ago, I would have said Cade McNamara is going to be the starter week 1. There would have been really no doubt in my mind. After watching yesterday and hearing Kirk Ferentz kind of not really answering the question directly on Friday when people were asking about who's going to, about the competition, who's going to be the starter and stuff like that, he never really, said Cade's a solidified starter. And so with all that, and then seeing the performance yesterday, I think it's closer than people think. And I think it's going to really come down these next couple of weeks on who's truly going to be the starting quarterback week 1. Now, I do think when it's all said and done, it's probably going to be Cade. If I had to place money on it, I would probably say Cade, but I do think it's a legit quarterback competition, which is a good thing, by the way. There needs to be, because I really think whoever's better, let's not put loyalty in this. Whoever is the better quarterback needs to be the starter. It as simple as that. Now, Brendan, or Sully, I say Sully for him, but that's Brendan Sullivan. Although his stat line wasn't that much better than Cade yesterday, and we have to remember he was going up against the number 2 or second defense compared to Cade going up against the first team defense, which, by the way, looked really, really good yesterday. And we'll talk more about the defense here shortly. We have to keep all that in mind with Sully, but he definitely looked better yesterday. Just watching the film, he looked a lot more poised in the pocket. The way he can move around, it just looks more natural at it. And Sully had a really nice throw to TJ Washington in the end zone. It was more just a better defensive play by, I don't know who it was. Was it maybe Nestor? I couldn't really tell by the video angle, but pretty nice throw. And if TJ catches that, that's a good 15-yard touchdown pass by Sully. And so that obviously didn't happen. So you take that away. But I just think Sully, for the most part, just looked better yesterday. Although, like I said, his stat line wasn't that much better than Cade's. Another thing with the offense, we have to keep in mind that Cade's favorite target, and I'm not using this as excuses, so do not think that I'm using this as excuses. I just think it needs to be talked about, is Luke Lachey did not play yesterday, or if he did, it was like 1 or 2 snaps. Left tackle Mason Richmond didn't play yesterday or barely played. Seth Anderson didn't play, the starting wide receiver, and then Dane Howard didn't play as well, the other wide receiver. So there was a couple playmakers, a couple players out on the offensive side of the ball, which obviously probably didn't help. And LaShawn Williams, our starting running back, did not play yesterday. So we have to keep that in mind a little bit too. We have to keep in mind we're going up against an elite defense. And, we're running a practice, we're running a scrimmage where we are keeping it as buttoned up as possible when it comes to what the plays that we were running. Let's look at the positives, because I think for most people, if you just look at Chris Hassel's tweet, if you just kind of see some of the fan reaction, you're going to think nothing good happened yesterday. You're going to think everything was bad, everything was miserable, and that definitely was not the case. Now, yes, the quarterback play was not good. The passing offense was not very good. Like, I will 100% agree with that, but there were definitely positives from yesterday. I'm just going to lay that out right now. At no surprise, the offense does look different. I think we can all just lay that to rest. It is a new scheme. It is Tim Lester's offense. We are still a pro-style offense. We still do a lot of things under center, but it's an updated, modern Shanahan scheme. We do a lot of motions, a lot of pre-snap motions. I saw a tweet yesterday that last year, only 6% of our plays, we did a motion before the snap, which is inexcusable. Just can't let that happen. And so that is going to be the main emphasis this year. I think pretty much every single play yesterday, maybe besides 1 or 2, there was a pre-snap motion, which I love to see. The running game, similar to the spring game, that we've seen it now twice, where the run game looked really good. Credit goes to the offensive line. I thought the offensive line looked pretty solid out there yesterday, despite not having Mason Richmond out there. And the running backs looked good. Caleb Johnson looked the part. Kamari looked good. Even Patterson looked pretty good. And TJ Washington, although is more of a wide receiver now, he did line up in the backfield a few times and had a really nice run as well. That was one thing with the last offense with Brian Ferentz, was our run game. There was too many times where we'd get blown up or it was dead on arrival. And the next thing we know, it's 2nd and 13, 2nd and 14. And at that point, it's like, we might as well just bring out the punter, because we're not going anywhere. And yesterday, what I loved seeing, and similar to the spring game, was there was maybe only 1 or 2 times where the run was dead on arrival. And what I mean by that is when the running back gets the ball, he gets the line of scrimmage and bam, it's over, right? And there was not many times like that yesterday. There was, like I said, maybe 1 or 2 times. Other than that, solid running. There was actually some really nice runs, and I absolutely love that. I think another thing with this offense is you can tell that it's more crisp. And I know that's hard to say, seeing Cade's stat line and seeing us not really doing much in the passing game, but you can see the foundation of, once we get some things figured out, this offense can be not bad. Now, it's going to be a work in progress, but the foundation is being set. And you can tell it's a lot more crisp. And that kind of goes back to what I said right away, where it does look different. And so I'm still excited. Once again, I'm pumping the brakes a little bit on how good it can be. I do think it's going to be better. I mean, it's not really hard to be much better than what we have been, because it's been so bad. But there's definitely glimpses of what this offense can be. We just, obviously, quarterback play needs to be better. And then the wide receivers, the speed that we have at wide receiver. Jacob Gill, Caleb Brown, Hayden Weegan, TJ Washington. That is going to be a main focus point. Like I said, we didn't really see a whole lot yesterday from it. Going back to, what I said earlier, very basic run plays yesterday. We just didn't really do a whole lot. But that is something I think it's going to be the main emphasis. You go back to, Tim Lester's days at Western Michigan. They ran a lot of short passing plays, a lot of plays that like you catch the ball and you get 10 yards out of it, right? By doing speed outs, doing slants, things like that. And so I'm really excited for that because we have the speed at wide receiver to be able to do some of those type of plays. So those were definitely the positives from yesterday. Once again, the quarterback play, primarily Cade McNamara, outweighs the positives because it was such a bad day from him. But we can't just not talk about some of the positives because there were definitely positives out there. I'm not going to let one scrimmage or one open practice define or get me to the point where I'm like going to be Mr. Negative or, oh, great, the season's over with. I'm just not going to let that affect me. Not quite yet. I'm not going to draw conclusions off of one practice. I'll admit it wasn't good, but I do think that there is time to hash things out to get better, and we'll just have to wait and see on that. Let's switch to the defense now because, man, this defense is legit. It is absolutely elite. What I loved about yesterday was the main focus point was the defensive line and primarily really the backups. And I thought Jeremiah Pittman looked good. But what I loved about the defensive line was the starters. They were so disruptive. There was at least 5 or 6 balls that were batted down by the defense or by the defensive line, I should say. They looked really, really good. And I think this defense, that was one thing last year was defense was really good last year, but I think we can all kind of agree the defensive line wasn't that disruptive. And so if the defensive line can just be slightly more disruptive, oh my gosh, this defense can be better than it was last year, which is really crazy to even think that because the defense was so good last year, right? But that was a really good sign. TJ Hall, starting corner. Unfortunately, he did get hurt yesterday, but it doesn't sound anything serious. But before he got hurt, he was playing really good. I think if he can get back healthy from this ankle injury that he had yesterday, which, like I said, he was jogging afterwards. So it's not like he's probably might be out a few days. I don't know. But I think all signs kind of point towards him being the starter, which is just crazy because I said 2 weeks ago, I really thought it was going to be down to Deshaun Lee and John Nestor. And now we have TJ Hall, which is a really good problem to have, by the way, because even if it isn't TJ Hall, John Nestor, who came in for TJ Hall after he got hurt, had a really good day as well. He was all over the field. I feel really good about the corners. Jamari Harris was locked down on the other side. Didn't really hear much about him because he was just locking down any wide receiver that was on him. And so that is a really good problem to have. Deshaun Lee, I think as of right now, it's fair to say that he's kind of behind TJ Hall and John Nestor. But I mean, Deshaun Lee was a guy that literally played in like 6 games last year. So even if it ends up being him, I'm not feeling that bad about it because he played pretty good last year. And so that just kind of goes to show of the depth that we have at corner as of right now, as long as we have no injuries. I also want to point out Zach Lutmer, the backup safety. He played yesterday. We all kind of figured Xavier was probably not going to participate. We heard rumblings earlier in the week that Xavier suffered an injury, nothing major, but probably going to be out several days. And we kind of figured he probably wasn't going to practice. And sure enough, he didn't. And I thought Zach Lutmer did a good job yesterday as well. So I just wanted to point that out as well. And then special teams. Great day for special teams. Reese Dakin, the new punter. We all hope he can be like Torrey. Probably won't be quite as good as Torrey in year 1, but man, he had 2 punts yesterday, one into the wind, 60 yards. And then he had another one that was pinned inside the 10. So that was good news because I think after watching the offense yesterday, and like I said, I don't want to draw conclusions, but I don't think it's going to be, the offense isn't going to be like this dominant offense that we're never going to punt the football. It's just not going to. I mean, we're still going to punt the football a lot. And so we need to have a good punter. And I feel very confident in Reese Dakin. And then Drew Stevens had a really good day yesterday as well. He only missed 1 field goal, and that's a good sign because we all remember last year his ups and downs and things like that. So if he can get back to that confidence and being able to go out there and hit on pretty much every field goal. And the thing was some of his field goals yesterday were 50 yards, 54 yards, things like that. And, he was hitting them. So he has a really good leg, and let's just hope he can maintain that confidence. So that was pretty much it. I know I'm missing a lot of things. There was a lot more things that happened yesterday. I just kind of want to hit on the big issues, the big things. Once again, in summary, we still got a long ways to go. I don't want to draw many conclusions from one practice. I don't think it's fair to do that. I definitely think there is concerns. I definitely think there are things that need to be addressed. There are things that we need to talk about. We can't just, sweep it under the rug and hope that it just goes away, because I think the performance by Cade and even to a bit, the performance by Sully needs to be better. And the hope is as we move forward these next 3 weeks, we can get that all figured out. Here's the thing. I trust Tim Lester. Unlike previous years where I think Brian Ferentz was a horrible quarterbacks coach, just a horrible offensive coordinator, was not fit for the job. But Tim Lester, he knows what he's doing. Trust me. I really feel confident in him. As a quarterbacks coach, as an offensive coordinator, he will find ways. He will make things right. I really believe that. It's just patience is a virtue, right? We just got to just kind of wait and see how things play out. But overall, though, yesterday, kind of a typical day that I thought. I really didn't really think we were going to see a whole lot. I didn't really think we were going to be able to take much away from it, good or bad. That's just one of those things with spring, with Kids Day, 8 days into camp. It's just going to be like that. So that will do it for this episode. We will be back later this week for another episode as we are gearing up for the season to start. We are less than 3 weeks away. By the time the next episode rolls out, we will be about 2 weeks away. So it is here. It is coming in a hurry. So that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening, and go Hawks.